today we've got our awesome product manager, Will, who's going to be taking us through some of ShiftCare's latest features. And we've also got Ian, who's our head of customer support, on hand as well to help with any questions that you might have. That's it from me. So Will, over to you.
Great. Hi, everybody. Thanks very much for joining. So this is the second product webinar we've done. So some of you may have joined the first, and welcome to anybody who this is their first one. So the themes that we're going over today are scheduling and notes improvements that we've done over the last 6 months. And those are the big themes we've been trying to hit coming into the end of this year. So hopefully some of these things I'll show you, you might have had a go, and for others, and some you may have seen and thought, oh, I'm not too sure what that is. And hopefully today will give you a better idea on how to use them. And the first one that I'll be showing you is some that we know has a fair bit of excitement around it. So that's Job Board. And so that's been in beta testing for the last couple of months, just ironing out a few things with it. And so that will be turned on to all Pro and Premium accounts very soon. And so today we'll give you an idea of what it's like for when that is turned on. So just got a couple of slides to go through. So yeah, so today's agenda is split into 2 parts. So we've got the scheduling shifts improvements we've done, some improvements around helping you schedule shifts, and then some improvements we've done around notes. So starting with scheduling shifts. So we've released 2 features really in the last 6 months that focus around improving how you can schedule shifts. So the first is Job Board. And why did we do Job Board? So our aim with this feature was to help scheduling teams, or whoever is responsible for scheduling, reduce the need to kind of chase around staff to find shifts if maybe the standard staff member who's normally on the shift can attend, or there's some new shifts going around and they need someone to fill it. And so the features all around putting more autonomy back onto the staff to be able to take shifts that suit them. And you can see how you can have some controls around that, so that it's not just anybody can take it. I'll show you that in the demo. We also, as well as reducing time, believe that staff will be happier that they can have some autonomy around being able to take the shifts that suit them, or perhaps be able to take shifts to get more, be able to take more shifts if it suits them. The second one is a smaller feature, but I'll go through it today as well, which is the team-based staff selection. And so this is a big push we're going on, which is around trying to reduce kind of what I call the mental load while rostering. So as you probably all know, with the being able to put in a shift, there's a lot of fields to put in and a lot of things a lot of implied knowledge to be able to schedule shifts. And the idea of a number of features that we have coming up over the next couple of months will be trying to help with that and trying to reduce some of the mental load while scheduling shifts. And this is the first of those. So I'm just going to bring up my demo. So this is just a demo account, obviously much lighter. I've just created this for today to show you a few things. So I know it looks rather artificial compared to, no doubt, what your dashboards look like. So I'm going to first of all show you Job Board, and you can see the Job Board will have its own row to help you have oversight of all the jobs that are open. And the whole idea of Job Board, so I just need to move something that's blocking my view. And the whole idea of Job Board is for you to be able to create a shift, or if a shift is all created, edit a shift, that opens it up to all your staff, or a select number of staff if needed. And they can then take that shift if it suits them, or if you want some extra controls around it, they can apply for the shift. and you can approve it if it's needed, if you want to have some sort of control at the end on who gets the shift. So I'll show you how that works. So I'll go through the first one, which is the simple, if you want to just create a shift and add it straight to the job board. So you can do that through the normal creation flow. So if I'm booking a shift for Gwen here, I'll just put it on a day, we haven't got a shift so far, 9 to 10, obviously that's a backdated shift, but just for this demo. And then so to pin it to job board, you just need to toggle on this add to job board, and you can see then the options change. So in the basic view, you can control who sees the shift by teams. So you can have either team A or team, or however you've named your teams. This is the way I've just named them. So you've got team A or team B. And if you say you select team A, then only staff members in team A will get the notification saying there's a job open for them to see. And they'll be the only staff members who can see it on their app and apply for that shift. You can also you can also choose the approval level for the job, which I mentioned before. So we're calling it a shift assignment. So by default, it's approved automatically. So first come, first serve. So whoever takes the shift first gets it automatically assigned to them. You can also choose to have the shift to require approval. So there's more of an application process. So staff can apply for the shift, and then the rostering team has the final say on who the shift is allocated to. We actually have a few more things we can break down here in the advanced edit mode. So we've actually got a set of criteria that's based on the profiles of the staff members. So we have, so again, you have teams, but you can set languages. So if your staff have certain languages that they speak and that's on their profile, you can assign a language. Then the compliance competencies and KPIs relate to the documents. So in the staff documents hub, as you'll see, there's those different categories of documents you can add. So that applies to, this is what these apply to. So the staff member will need to say if you have a NDIS worker check document, they'll need to have a document uploaded with the expiry date in the future, or the document can't be expired, for them to be able to see the job on their mobile app. You can also have distance, so that's the shift relative to the staff member's address on their profile. So you can say whether they have to live within a certain radius of that. So if you have staff who are spread out across a wide area, then this might be helpful so that staff aren't seeing jobs where it's kind of unfeasible for them to be able to get to the shift. We also have checks in case you accidentally make the criteria so narrow that no staff see the shift. So for example, I believe with this one, I've made it so that no staff has an active worker check. So if I try and save that, you get a warning to say that no staff currently meet your criteria. So you might have to update this. For example, if I remove the worker check, then I should be able to save the job, and then anyone in that team, team A, I think I chose, will see that job appear on their mobile app. I have a few screenshots of what that looks like on the mobile app. So I thought, rather than trying to stream my phone onto this and add more technical complexity, I've just taken some screenshots of what it looks like. So this is the live app. As mentioned, it's in beta, so this is how it works. So your staff will have a new section, job board, So it doesn't integrate into, it's not part of the My Scheduler. The reason for that is we felt it might be a bit cluttered or confusing if there is a mix of shifts that have been assigned and booked for that staff member and shifts they could apply for. We're interested to get feedback on that over time to see if people feel that separation works for them, or whether or not there's a preference to actually see the views combined. So they click on the job board. So it works just like the My Schedule. So they'll see the jobs there. They click into a job. So this is an example of one where it's a first come, first serve. So it's assigned automatically, and they can just take the shift and it moves to their My Schedule, and it will and it will just be like a normal book shift at that point for them. If it's a job where they have to apply for the shift, they'll get this. The button will be different. It'll say apply for the shift, and then they'll stay on the job board. So if you look at this image on the right, you can see there's it's still there, and it has a little green thumbs up to say that they've applied for it. And they can remove the application if they need to at any point. So yeah, so that's what it looks like on mobile. So if I go back to the demo, when you've created one, you'll see that the shift appears in this in the job board row, just like a shift, but designated purple in color. And if a staff member takes that shift, then it will move directly to it. So I can demo that now on my phone. I will take the shift I've just created for you. So that was the 28th. I just realized that was my staff member on my phone was a different team. Oh, sorry, let me just create another one to demo that to you. So I'll make one for Gwen again. I'll make it an afternoon shift. I won't make it. Oh, I should have mentioned, if you leave this blank, it goes to all your staff. So you don't have to have a team associated, and you don't need to have criteria put onto it. If you add no criteria, then all your staff will get notified and they'll be able to apply for the shift. So I'll just do that now, just so you I can demo that. So I'm just going to take that shift. I've taken that shift. And I take this page. You're going to see that's the shift there. It just moved down to Thomas's line there when they take the shift. And then an example of a shift where there's an application for the shift. If I go to this Thursday one, which I've set up in advance, you'll see here that I should show first. Sorry, there's a staff count here for how many staff have applied for the shift, so that you will see if you'll see how many people have applied for the shift, or alternatively, I suppose you can see if there's a job sitting there that no one's applied for, it might need actioning. Now, of course, if it's a first come first serve shift, then it will always be 0 until someone takes it, and then it'll move down to a shift here. But just to show you how you then action it, an application. So if I click on one because I see there's an application and I see it's Thomas again, I can then accept that shift, and it will. I can accept his application. If there's multiple ones, there'll be multiple staff underneath, and I can just choose the staff member I think is most appropriate for it. So I can accept that, and then move down to Thomas's shift, and they will get notified that the shift has been assigned to them. So yes, to say that the application has been successful. So it's like a notification that they'll get if they were applying for a shift. Or sorry, if a shift was booked for them. There's the next thing I want to show you is around recurring shifts. So this is actually one of the, I suppose, the use cases that we wanted to handle, which was, I have for Lisa here a recurring shift with Janet, and it happens every Tuesday and Thursday, and perhaps Thursday 1st of December, Lisa's not able to attend. So what I can do is I can simply drag that up to job board. What that will do then is open up the criteria page or the edit page, so that I can set the criteria that I want to, just so that when I drag it up, it doesn't automatically send it to all staff all at once. So say maybe I need to, I just want it to go to team B, and I can then save that. One thing to note, and I'll come into kind of how some of these features are going to evolve over time. At the moment, our job board is only for single shifts. So I can't say for a specific date range, can you put them all onto job board? So I have to do one shift at a time. So that's just a slight caveat there on that piece. And we're going to look to see if we can do that going forward. You may have also noticed with this, the final caveat I wanted to cover was for multi-staff shifts. So if it's like a group shift, or there's multiple clients and multiple staff, for the multiple staff, we can't yet accommodate more than one staff. But again, that's something we're going to look to do in the future, in the next stage of job board. The multi-staff shifts is something we're going to look at. So at the moment, it is a single staff shifts. So I can update that, and you see that it's moved up to the job board, and then is open for people to take. I can also edit a shift like normal in this case, and I can just override it, add it to job board. Again, I can make it team B, and I can save that and update it. So that is job board in a nutshell, really. I suppose I should say, in vice versa, I can move down a shift simply from job board to somebody. If somebody's perhaps in person come to me and say they would like to take a shift, I can simply move it and drag it and drop it like you can on scheduler now. So yeah, that's job board. So as mentioned at the beginning, this is something we have been beta testing. So it is a live production feature, and we've just been making sure it's working as expected. We did an update actually this week on it to help it with the performance of it. So we'll be turning this on as a full feature very shortly. At the moment, it's looking like it'll be no later than Monday morning. So you'll see it in the next couple of days. Okay, so the next feature was the team-based scheduling. So as I mentioned, so with Teams, we found that the feedback we were getting with Teams that it had a lot of potential. But when it came to the scheduling side of things, the Teams, it kind of didn't flow through. So you could create teams, assign it to clients, which was great. But then when you went to book a shift, that sort of knowledge around teams, or that information around teams, wasn't getting translated. So we've tried to bring that out in this latest feature that some of you may have already seen, and with the hope that it means scheduling might be a little easier, because you'll know straight away who's in their team. So I've created some teams here. As you would have seen, there was Team A and Team B already. So if I look at my clients here, so if I look at Janet, she's in Team B. So she's had Team B assigned. So if I go to scheduler now, and I try and book a shift for Janet, and I go to Kara, you'll see now that there is Janet's teams are at the top in their own section, and then all other staff are below. So that you can choose. Obviously, we didn't want to enforce it, and I suppose one of the things we're trying to bring through the product is a level of being streamlined with booking shifts, but also giving the flexibility of rather than kind of dictating certain ways of doing things. And that's something that we're going to continue as we build out more features. But this is an example of that, where we're not kind of enforcing you to pick from a team, but just suggesting these are who are in the client's team. If I go to advanced edit and I add in Gwen, you'll see that both of their teams, so I would have shown you, so Gwen's got team A, Janet's got team B, there's two staff members in each, and you can see here that it combines both, so it covers that. So it's they don't have to have an overlap of the team members, it's both teams combined. Yeah, so that is the team-based rostering that we released recently. So if I go to, so the next is notes. So notes has been a big focus for us, and we've done some great updates over the last 6 months and a year around that. And a big focus on the notes piece has been around trying to instill a bit more flexibility, but also helping with structure. We know from feedback that sometimes customers struggle with staff being consistent with their notes, or being notes always having the information they want captured. So the big focus has been around our notes functionality, being able to help staff have some structure around what to add to the notes when they submit the notes. So we've had three, I suppose we've had three main releases around notes. There's been a couple or more, but these are the key ones. So we've introduced a little while ago the customized note headings. So we always had the note headings for progress notes, but we extended that to feedback, instance, and inquiries. And we improved the UI around being able to order the notes and kind of structure that. And we introduced the concept of having mandatory versus non-mandatory sections in your notes, so that it was gave a little bit more flexibility. We introduced private notes. The feedback we were getting is that ShiftCare couldn't really be the golden source of all notes, because there were certain notes people wanted to be able to add in that they didn't really want to risk getting sent to staff members through their mobile, or certain members in their organization who perhaps shouldn't see the notes. They didn't want that there to be a risk of that them being able to see them. So we introduced the private notes functionality, and most recently we introduced the updated client public information. So we used to have that section, public information, hidden away at the bottom right of the client profile page, and it was just a simple text input. And obviously the feedback we had was, if you wanted to put information in there around allergies, or what medication somebody's on, or how to deal with certain situations, it was almost impossible to structure that information that made it easy for the staff member to see on their mobile app. So there was always a risk that staff members could miss key and important information. So that we released an update to that recently. So I'll probably focus on that one, because I can imagine some of you may have already had a go around customized note headings and private notes. So while the advanced client information, or the update to the public information, is a fairly new piece. So we've kept it consistent in the field to the note headings for the new public information. And we have, sorry, I should go to the client. I was meant to go to the client profile page first. So if we go to Janet here, we've we've brought up that public information here. So it's right at the forefront of the interface rather than it used to be down here in the additional information, some of you may remember. And so we brought it up into its own section to kind of emphasize the importance of it. And we went a little bit further and actually introduced sections within the public information. So for many of you, if you go to your clients, one of your client profiles now, and you've been using the public information section, that information will be under what we've called general information. And the general information is capturing that sort of free text where you just want to be able to input information, and perhaps it doesn't need to be in a structured heading sort of way. And so we've just used that. That old public information section is now that general information section. And so if you need to, if you want to split out the information that used to be in that just text dump, you can do that now through these new sections, which are need to know information and useful information. I know some of you might be sitting there thinking, why have you split this out into two sections? And rather than just have the general information and then like a heading structured section, and isn't need to know very similar to useful. So yeah, I agree with that. So this is actually, so we're looking into the future of this feature. And where we would like to go with this is that when a staff member clicks into a shift or goes into a shift, if there's information in the need to know, they'll be alerted to that straight away, so that it's right there. So there's no way of them missing. They would have to dismiss that information before they can then like clock in and so forth. So it will be a way of really enforcing the staff member to be able to see the information that's important for the shift. So that might be information like allergies, or if there's been a change in condition, or medication information that they need to know. That's where it's going. So we're not quite there yet, but just to explain, that's why we split out these sections in this way. So you can then, within each section here, you can add these headings. So let's say we want to add allergies and medications. You can then write them in a very structured way. So I'll just and maybe I should just, yeah, not very imaginative on my feet there. To write something, so we can save them, and then as you can see, so as you're looking at this, there's a little bit more structure, and it will be even more structured if I add a heading under the useful information. So maybe house access here, and we can say door. Something like that. And then so from a office team perspective, it means if you click into a client's profile, it's going to be a lot better laid out and structured, and easier to read under the essential headings. And the idea is also, if you're creating a new client profile, adding a new client to your into ShiftCare, having these headings allows you to kind of you ensure you can see the sort of information that you want to be able to capture. So if you're looking at the headings, think, oh yes, I should put that information in. Or so again, it's to do with trying to alleviate that mental load that you have when going through and processing things in ShiftCare. So you just have, okay, yeah, I want that heading. That's a heading. Oh, that's a good idea. I can put that information in. And I should in general sample general information. And this is just a free text field like it always was. So if you want to add stuff that's not necessarily under a heading, that's an update. Maybe Janet's new to the area. You can show them around. You can put that into the general information so that it is structured as well. So we're not forcing headings in. So again, trying to have that balance between having structure and streamlinedness, but also the flexibility to add what you need. So how do you add the heading? So I jumped a bit early when I went to settings. So we structured that very similar to the way that we structure the note headings that we used to have with private notes. So there's the two sections, and you just go to manage, and you can put just add your heading there, and it's added. And then if you go to a client now and you go to add it, that heading will be available for them to use. It might be that you want to have some templating when it comes to client details when you're adding new clients, so that it's always the same information, or always the same headings there. So maybe allergies and medications is a good example of that. So that's always present when you're creating a profile, so that you ensure it's kind of always filled out. And that's where we introduce this concept of mandatory heading. If I create a sample mandatory heading, like make it mandatory. If I do that, it means that heading will be available and will be added to all all clients automatically. It won't, obviously nothing being populated there, but it will be present there for you to add. So the idea around that is particularly around new clients, so that you can create the profile, and then there's just straight there's the key headings you want to be filled out. So if I go back to Janet there, you'll see that it's added that sample mandatory heading straight away. It doesn't force you to actually fill anything in, but it's added there. So the idea around it is kind of allowing you to create templates for the useful information. So those headings are always there. And so obviously the logical follow-on from this is, what does it look like on mobile? Or should taking a screenshot of that one, sorry. So at the moment, the mobile, we have some limitations the way that is structured, so that we didn't want the case that when we release this and people are adding information to need to know information and useful information, users with older mobile versions of the app wouldn't have access to that. So we've ensured that no matter what version of the app you're on, you always get all of this information. So it means that we've had to structure it using the sort of limitations we have around it's just kind of plain text in there, which you may have seen before, but it's in a much more structured way. So it will be in line breaks, and it'll be bullet pointed and with headings and so forth, so that it's structured in a way. And then our next phase of this project is around having it on the mobile, so that it looks much cleaner and clearer, a bit like it does on this page. So that will be coming in the new year. So yeah, that was the advanced client details. The next one was the note headings and the notes. This one's been out for a while, so apologies if any of you have already seen this feature and have been using it anyway. So the note headings that we've introduced, it was very similar to the concept of the public information here. Previously to this new feature, we allowed you to add headings to the progress notes, so that they had set headings when you're filling it out. But we didn't provide you the ability to have headings for feedback, incidents, and inquiries. So we've extended that here. So you can see I've made some examples where under incidents, so that now, similar if a mobile user goes to the mobile app, and in the shift, they can click to create a note and click an incident, and they have the set headings, just like they did with progress notes. We extended the headings functionality further, similar to the what I just showed you, being able to add new ones in. So You can add a heading like that, and so that will appear on a user's mobile every time they create a note now. But a few of the things we introduced to improve this was around ordering and the mandatory versus non-mandatory. So a big pain point we used to get is if you had a new note heading that you wanted to add, and you added it like I did then, there was no way of then getting that to the top, so that when of the list. So when a staff member clicked into a note, there was no way of you determining the order of those headings. It was always just in the order of entry. So we allowed that to be achieved through the modal. So you can drag your headings to where you want them. So I've just moved that one there. Sorry, I should have spoken through what I just did. So you can click on the edit order and you can move that where you need it to be moved to. And then you have the, and that will be saved. And now every time a staff member clicks into progress notes, this new progress notes heading will be the third heading that's presented. So it allows you to put the in key or logical order to the headings that you create. And we also introduced the concept of mandatory versus non-mandatory. So before this update, all note headings were mandatory. If you went to create a note and you had to fill in every section. And so we wanted to provide a little bit more flexibility. So it was an easier process for the staff members if there were sections within that was not applicable. The reason for that is we know that having just one template for progress notes for particularly some large organizations that have multiple service lines, it would be ideal if there were different progress notes types or categories that you could create. And we're hoping to look into that shortly, and that's on our roadmap. But we knew in the meantime, people were just adding all the headings into one, and kind of staff members were just filling in the ones that they were applicable to them. But obviously in the previous, where everything was mandatory, it means you had to always fill in a field that might not have been applicable to the service that you were providing. So we've allowed certain headings to be non-compulsory if it didn't apply to their work. And then further to that, we extended that to being able to have those note headings within the notes you can add to shifts within the web app rather than just the mobile app. So if I create a note on this shift, so add notes, you can see the templates appear for you like they would on the mobile, which we didn't have before. Before it was always the same. It was a progress notes heading that was applied to every note. But if I go to instance, it will update to the incident notes so that you have the same structure. The difference being similar to before, we haven't instigated or implemented a compulsory nature to the web app notes because we know that people valued on the web app side for the administration teams a bit more flexibility. So we didn't want to make notes all of a sudden very rigid so that you couldn't change the notes to put what you needed to put into them. So they are still kind of free text. You can remove the headings if they are not applicable for what you want to write. So that mandatory nature is only on the mobile side. Okay, so in doing that, you might have seen the final notes feature I wanted to go through, which was the private notes feature. So the feedback, as I mentioned before, we were getting around notes was it was great that people could capture notes on clients in one place. So there's always a set, you can go into one of the client's profiles, into their communications page, and there was a set, you can capture all the notes you need to for that client. So it's a good history. But the feedback we were getting was that, well, there were certain notes people wanted to capture that they didn't necessarily want to have other roles, other roles being able to see. And in particular, they wanted to be able to share certain notes with their clients, with their staff through the app. But there were certain notes they definitely didn't want their staff members to see through the app. And there wasn't a way of controlling that through ShiftCare. So that's why we've introduced the concept of private notes. So this is a standard note. So I will just again, lack of imagination, sorry. So I'm just going to create a normal note here. So that works just like it has always. But if I wanted to have a note, and then if notes were being for Janet were being shared with staff members, if I had the shift with Janet and I went to the mobile app and I went to a shift with Janet, then I would be able to see this non-private note. But if I then wanted to write a note that was I didn't want staff members to see, maybe it was a personal information that wouldn't be relevant to the staff member, but we want to be able to capture on their profile, I could write a private note. So a private note here. I can make that private. We kind of marked it as yellow, so it's very obvious that this is going to be a private note, so it behaves differently. And I can then add that to the profile. And again, so it will stay yellow. So you can always, when you scan through communications page, you will see what's a private note and what's a not private note, very obviously. And this note will never go to mobile, is the concept. So we, even if you are, and I should add, so even if I, as an admin role, went to a shift on the mobile with Janet, I'm not going to see this note. So we've very much kept a separation there between the notes. So private notes are strictly only on the web app. You can also add a private note to a shift as well, as you may have seen on the before. So I can make this a private note as well and add that to the shift. And you'll see it appear in the events of the shift in yellow. So it's very obvious that it's a private note. And again, that won't appear in the progress note section of for the staff on the mobile. So that will only appear on the profile on that communications page for that client, or on this when you click into the shift in the event. So it's very much differentiated. So we've allowed to have some control over who can write and read progress note, private notes. So if I go to my staff, so Nick Frost is the person I'm here. So this is I use an admin. So this is an admin role under settings. And if I go, you'll see here, there's a section, read and write private notes. So if I edit this section, you can see I can't turn that off. So admin role will always be able to see and write private notes. The reason we've done that is just so that if you have multiple admin members in your organization, you can't have someone going in and editing other people's access to that. So for admin, it's a fixed thing. And similar for if you've got someone who's a carer role, you can't make the carer role, you can't turn it on for carer. So the idea is that for someone who's carer, who therefore only has access to the mobile, there's no way of turning on private notes for them to be able to see and write. So it also stops it from because you can log in to the web app for that strict scheduler view. It means that they're not going to accidentally see any private notes. While for somebody like Lisa, who's an office worker, office support, sorry, I can choose whether, so by default, they won't have access, but maybe police, I want them to be able to have access to client notes. So I can update that. So they can read and write client notes, but if they have access to the staff side, they're not going to be able to read and write staff notes. So, but I think Office Supports has access to the HR side of things, but if they did, then they can't, if they went onto someone's profile, they wouldn't be able to see any private notes that was written on a staff member's profile. And that is private notes. So I think that's everything I wanted to go through on the notes side. So yeah, so we covered the customized note headings, or in order we went through the client public information side. So that's that brand new feature around the public information on clients. There's the customized note headings, which has admittedly been out for a while. So being able to be able to add headings for your feedback, instant, and inquiry note types, but also now being able to order them in whatever order you want and being able to make them mandatory versus non-mandatory. And then finally, we looked at private notes, so being able to have notes in there that you can very much control who can see those notes and who can't see those notes. Okay, so what's next for these features? So no doubt there would be things that you would have seen there and you thought, oh, but you can't do that, or I wonder if it can do that, and oh, I hope it can do that. So I want to cover some of the things that's on the roadmap around these notes, these features that aren't there yet, but we're considering, or we're in progress of looking and exploring. So first of all, on the scheduling shift side, so we've got the job board. So on there, the priority that we're looking at is around being able to better handle those recurring shifts, seeing if we can, how we can make it work so that you could perhaps have the next 2 weeks of recurring shifts going into job board. Is say somebody is out for a 2-week period and you need to reassign those shifts easily. And we'd also like to handle the multi-staff shifts, so that if you had staff A, B, and C, and say staff B isn't able to attend the shift, could you advertise staff B's place on job board? So that's something we're looking at as well. The team-based staff selection. So around that, it's part of a much bigger piece of work we're doing around the whole scheduling, as I mentioned. So there's tweaks we're going, little improvements and enhancements around that mental load that we're doing throughout. But specifically on being able to select staff, something we're looking at is being able to have staff filters, so that if you want to be able to see which staff are, if you want to be able to allocate a specific staff member, maybe you don't want to add it to job board, but you want to be able to say, okay, I just need to see which of my staff speak Mandarin, and so I can add that to the shift. So it kind of narrows down your who you're looking at on the staff view. Then on notes, so the customized note heading. So again, yes, looking at more flexibility with customized note type. So is there a way of having multiple versions of progress notes, templates, or incidents for different sections of the business? Private notes, the next stage we'd like to look at is staff can submit a private note. So maybe something's happened in a shift that they want to report a note, maybe some private feedback note, and they want to submit that, but obviously they don't want that appearing on the shift for a colleague to see. So that's something we're exploring. And then on the client public information piece, as I mentioned when we went through the demo, so looking at better formatting on the mobile so that it's very clear, and then that piece around alerting a mobile user if there's a need to know information piece there when they go into the shift. So outside of these features, what's coming soon? So what's really nearly there and will be released in the coming weeks or month? So there's 3 things that we're kind of looking at. So the first one is we are introducing the concept of a client status, so that you can label your clients as active or a prospect or prospective client, to be able to control the visibility of your clients throughout the web app. So maybe you want to start adding kind of clients who are going through the process. Maybe they've engaged, but you haven't signed service agreement or haven't got the care plan up and running, so you can't book shifts with them yet, but they're there and you want to be able to add, you want to assign tasks or activities to your staff members. So that's the idea of this client status. So you can easily see, okay, here's my active clients and here's the prospective clients that aren't there yet, but we have coming through. Along the lines of this, the cognitive load, the mental load while booking shift, we're introducing a way of warning you if you're creating a shift for a staff member and that shift is taking that staff member over their weekly or daily hours. So in the client profile, you can set their daily and weekly hour limit or levels. So we wanted to be able to bring that information to the fore when you're booking shifts. So if someone can only work 20 hours a week and you're booking a shift for them on the final day on the Friday, but it's going to take them to 22 hours, then it alerts you to say, oh, this person's going to be 2 hours over their weekly hour limit. We won't be stopping that from being booking. It's just a warning, just to let you know that's what's happening. And the final piece, which is likely coming out at the beginning of next year, is the ability to manage kilometers at the client level. So at the moment, we're doing a big body of work around travel and transport. It's a multi-phase piece. So we recently released this year, which I didn't demo today, the ability to control whether or not a client is or not invoiced kilometers as default. The next stage, which we're nearly there, so we're just going through testing phases at the moment with it, is being able to have, specifically if you have a multi-client shift, you can control the amount of kilometers for each client on the shift. So you can choose to do that. You can either allocate, everyone has the same kilometers, or you can choose to override the shift kilometers. So say you have 2 clients on a shift and the staff members input 10 kilometers into the shift, rather than 10 kilometers being allocated to both clients, you can choose to split out that kilometers there. It means the big advantage of that being that you can control the kilometers that will go to the timesheets for the staff member, separately to the kilometers that will that you can invoice to the client. So that's the next piece, and then there's a few more pieces I won't go into today around travel kilometers that are scheduled for following this. Yes, that's everything I wanted to show everyone today. So hopefully that gave everybody an idea of the things that we've been working on releasing. Some of them you may have all seen and had to go at, and maybe this gives a more context of why we've done that and some of the functionality around it. And hopefully for some people who may not have tried some of these features, it will allow you to go and explore them and see if it works for you. And in particular for job board, when that's turned on in the next couple of days, give you some ideas of how it works, and so you can get using that straight away.
Great, thanks so much, Will. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone.